Non-resurrectionism. This was a view that was held among some old-school Baptist preachers in the 19th century and even into the present time. What is it? It generally refers to the belief or theological position that denies a future bodily resurrection of the dead. While not always called by this specific term, in historical sources, the concept has surfaced in various forms across religious history, often in opposition to traditional Christian eschatology. Here's a detailed view. Non-resurrectionism is the view that there will be no resurrection of the body, either of the righteous, the wicked, or both, at the end of time. Instead, adherents may believe in annihilationism. After death, the soul and the body cease to exist. Or a purely spiritual existence after death, without bodily form. Immediate afterlife experiences that may make a future resurrection unnecessary, or no afterlife at all, in more radical materialist forms. Those who believe in such a doctrine today are often called Neo-Sadducees, after the Jewish order during the time of Christ that denied any bodily or physical resurrection. What's interesting, though, is that Paul did not believe in this doctrine, obviously, brethren. Neither did Samuel Tract, Gilbert Beebe, or Thomas Dudley, or Wilson Thompson. They all spoke against it. But why would they speak against it unless it was around during their time? After the time of the early church, when the Gnostics came into being and became a powerful sect within what was called Christianity, they often held to a kind of non-resurrectionism, believing the physical body to be evil and the spiritual realm superior. A very famous theologian, Origen, had a complex view that flirted with spiritual resurrection. But the church, or shall we say, the people in power, ultimately condemned some of his ideas. There were apparently some Anabaptists and so-called radicals after the Reformation who denied the resurrection or reinterpreted it as a purely spiritual reality. Now, there's variations of non-resurrectionism. There's an interesting passage in Matthew 27, beginning with verse 15. Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. On this basis, some have said that the resurrection has already taken place, and that there was an example. Of course, why stop there? Lazarus was resurrected from the dead. That was a resurrection. He was dead. And yet, he died later. So this was a resurrection, but not of the kind that is spoken about at the end of time. Now these are subjects which are profound. Apparently there were ministers in the Northeast among old school Baptist churches, readily respected ministers among old churches, that in the early 20th century began to preach these doctrines. And to some, Elder Lackey, for instance, once told me that in his opinion he thought that's what killed the churches up in the Northeast. We shall make a part 2 and perhaps a part 3 of this series, because this doctrine is very profound and has many implications. It's not a simple thing to decipher. We'll talk about preterism and amillennialism in future broadcasts.